Tell us about your experience with Laguna Seca Raceways.
Well, I was a camp host at Laguna Seca Raceway. Sorry, I'm still upset at that. Now this happened while my contract was up, and they actually did a little trick on me because I covered for another volunteer, and they were supposed to cover for me, and on the day that he was supposed to cover for me, they called him up and said that they were going to let him go. So then he called me up and he said he wasn't going to return the favor. So finally I get a hold of Visa to find out what's going on, and she told me she had to write me up. So an hour later, Wynette comes and delivers me my termination of my contract paper, and it was signed with John's name. And so on Saturday, let's get to Saturday the 16th, I'm there at work, and I work the computer, I do the reservation as well. So I saw who was coming in. I saw that, these ladies were coming in, and I was pretty happy. I was like, cool. But as they were pulling in and checking in, that's where everything broke loose. So when I was in this booth, we have a window on this side for the incoming cars and a window for the exiting cars. So she came out the exiting way, stopped at the window, and told me, do not take no more homeless walk-ins. That was on Saturday the 16th. Don't take me, she said homeless. Then the following week when I went back to work on Wednesday, she said, don't take any walk-ins from any locals. If you're going to take walk-ins, they cannot be locals. Again, she referred to, don't want to take in the displaced people that she calls homeless. Then I come in,
right?
huh?
She said that letting people out of state,
Out of
right?
state. Then I come into work the next day, and they have two handwritten notes taped to the computer, and one says that we are not to take displaced people walk-ins for that whole week. So I took a picture of that, and they had another one with just this group's name, and we've never done that before. And mind you, I have worked in Laguna Seca Raceway back in 2018 as well. That was not the practice then, that was not what I was trained now. And so let me tell you about no-shows. We have people say their reservation is for the 12th and they're leaving on the 25th. They got the 12th, 13th, the 14th, the 15th, all the way up to the 24th to come in on their no-show reservation. Okay? And as far as vehicles being parked in another space, they have put spaces on maintenance when it didn't need no maintenance, just so they could accommodate all other campers. So if their rig and their vehicle don't fit in that space, they'll put them in another space, and that's why they'll put that space under maintenance. Okay? And they treated these people totally different than anybody else. Okay? And first of all, when somebody checks in with us, we don't ask them for a driver's license. We ask them, what's your last name? Then we look for that registration form with the parking tag and a little card, a big old card is for you to review our performance and the campgrounds and all that. Now I go as far as asking them what the address is, and that's as far. They never trained me to ask for an ID. Also, that same day on the 16th that I just remembered, they were trying to get me to spot expired tags. they were telling me to look for any little thing that they didn't say it this way, but any little thing that could be legally binding to them to act on these people. And they were making it hard. And so when I went in on Wednesday, Jim, which by the way, let me tell you about Jim. Let me tell you about how Laguna Seca works here. Back in 2018, Jim got drunk, was in his truck with his dogs, it wasn't really his, was parked right over in the area where we have sittings, where people sit. Now, his truck goes over the cliff and wipes out that whole section there. He told them, oh, his dog put the truck out of gear. Now, they're keeping this guy. The one that was rude to these people, they're keeping him. Probably because they're going to think that they're going to get their money's worth for all the repairs they had to do after he did that. So if they're going to keep a man, it cost them thousands of dollars to replace all those sittings, all those seats, okay? But they're going to just judge other people by a glimpse. And this was Lisa, by the way, who, and this is how I know, because that same day that they were coming in on the 16th, I was standing in front of the gator, and Juanette says, oh man, I forgot, yeah, we knew about that yesterday. I should have come in earlier today to handle this. So they knew. When she told me that, that made me sick to my stomach. Because everything they were telling me, do not accept homeless walk-ins. And then the next week, a few days later, because I was off for 3 days after that, then they say, do not accept any out-of-towner, local walk-ins. They got to be out of state, blah, blah, blah. That made me sicker. That made me sicker. Now, them letting me go in the shitty way they did, I came to peace with that. I always have an angel with me that says, you know what, let it go. But when they judge a group of people like this, that's when I started doing what I had to do. That's when I became the spy for my own people. And that's all I gotta say.
So on the night of the 15th,
Oh,
when we went to Laguna Seca, they were okay to us when we pulled in. They kind of gave us a little snotty attitude. And then I seen somebody I knew there, but it was all good. They were good to us. They didn't really bother us. They kind of they hassled us a little bit about where we was parking our truck. When Jim told us that the guy Jim down there said that we could park next to our spot if if the spot wasn't took. Well, on both sides of us, they were not took. So we had the truck parking because we were sticking out too far. So we took it upon ourselves to move the truck out of the roadway and park next to us where nobody had no ticket on the pole. Lisa come up and gave us hell and told somebody that we refused to move our truck, which is a lie. Because my son got right in it and moved the truck. She put us in another spot, like 7 spots away from our motorhome. I mean, yes, it's another spot to park, but it's kind of far when you got groceries and shit. You can't even stop to put your groceries out because Lisa will be right there on your ass. You can't be stopping right there. You can't do this, can't do that. But anyways, in the last 2 days we were there, they really hassled us. They really gave us a hard time. They didn't want us there. They said no more people from Seaside or Monterey that were homeless were allowed to come up in there. I mean, that's bullshit. We didn't do anything wrong. We minded our own P's and Q's. We didn't leave no trash. We didn't have no parties. We weren't allowed to have any visitors till the last 2 days before they let any visitors come up. I have a caregiver. My caregiver couldn't even come and see me till I got permission for her to come do her job, which they granted it for 1 day. She came back 2 days later to do her job again, and they weren't going to let her in the gate. But they let her in the gate. Can't come after 7 o'clock at night. So if you come before 7, the last 2 days, they let you come to visit. But other than that, can't nobody bring nothing to drop nothing off to you. If they had some stuff hauling it for you because you had no space to put it, they couldn't bring it in. I mean, they're not staying to visit, they're just coming dropping the stuff off and leaving, and they couldn't even do that. I mean, it's ridiculous. And people got kicked out, wouldn't even let through the gate because their registration was expired. But the city is one that told us where we could go. They're the ones that paid for us to go there. They got reimbursed, and the people were still out on the street because they had nowhere to go. Some people were a no-show. That their motorhome was there. That one person wasn't there, but her motorhome was. They still wouldn't let them in the gate. Your turn.
Was that about all the negative interactions that you had with
That I had with them,
Seca?
yes. That I had with them, yes.
Describe a specific conversation if you can recall one.
When Lisa came and said, you better move that truck or you're going to get charged another day, $55 a day for your truck being parked in a spot it's not supposed to be.
It's like they were
Okay. And then she offered the 7 spaces down.
Right.
Okay.
And then somebody knocked our pole down, so we didn't want to park there because we didn't want to get accused of knocking the pole down. And they came, my son took pictures of it and was going to tell them, and the guy come up, one of the other guys come up, and he told him, he said, I was just taking pictures to let you guys know that somebody knocked our pole down when we were gone, because we went to the store and came back and it was down on the ground. We didn't want to get accused of it, so my son was taking pictures of it. He goes, no problem. 2 days that pole sat on the ground and never moved that pole, never touched that pole. For 2 days. And then they wanted us to pull our truck back over there. Well, somebody hit the pole, it makes them think they're not going to hit our truck if our truck was parked there. Right? So, I don't know. But the last 2 days was miserable up there. I'll tell you, Friday, when we had to leave Friday, we were trying, we had to be out by 12 o'clock. Well, we was trying, all of a sudden everything went wrong on my motorhome. I couldn't get the wires were sparking, and they were very polite. They came over there about 6 o'clock, and Rick Garcia was the one that was very polite to us. He offered to let us go out the back gate because our brakes are bad on our truck, so we wouldn't have to go down the big hill. He got off before we got done with starting to go, and he called his other security guard, I don't know what his name was, to come and let us out the gates. And they followed in front of us, and far enough away so we didn't have no brakes. So he followed far enough behind, opened up all 3 gates for us to go out. It was very polite. So I got to give props on Rick Garcia because he was very polite on that part. But Lisa, she got to go. She was very rude, very, very rude. And lied, said we wasn't going to move our truck. We were moving it as soon as somebody came there. Nobody was there. And then we got permission from Jim to be able to park it right there next to the truck, the motorhome. So they're kind of contradicting each other, so nobody knows what's going on down there. But I'll never go there again. They won't get my money or anybody else's money for that fact that I know. This is my caregiver right here that they refuse to let in the gate. To come take her job.
I would have said something.
Take her job. Caregiving job.
And you have a vehicle as well, right?
Right, yes I do.
And is licensed, registered, everything?
They wouldn't let him in. I was attending doing other things. I had another caregiver I had to abuse, and by the time I was getting ready to come out there, I was told he couldn't get in because
they wouldn't let me in. I told them that Sylvia was reservations were in Sylvia's name, and that they needed her ID and she needed to be there. And well, she wasn't going to be there right away, but she was coming, and I just go ahead and get all this done, and when she gets here, she'll take care of it,
Right, like I used to. But they know me now.
They weren't going to have it. They said no, he come back a few minutes later and said he didn't think we're going to allow any more people in. Well, wait a minute, she's got reservations.
Paid for
and,
it. Paid for it.
Well, they just don't want to let anybody else in. And then he went to tell me that, as a matter of fact, he says, I think we're going to kick everybody out that was in the group. I said, what, you're going to go in there and tell them they got to hook up and go? And that's what he was saying. And he said, oh, well, shoot, I'm not going to go back down that hill and wait for Sylvia and then come back up. So if you don't mind, I'm going to park right over here to the side and wait for her to come. And she wasn't able to make it right away, so I didn't want to push it too much and overstay my welcome, in other words. But they weren't telling me much of anything other than that they wanted us out of there. And they didn't say anything about being kicked out of the other place. They never mentioned that to me, not once. And they're just telling me that they didn't want us there.
First of all, didn't they say something about they heard
About what?
that we were kicked out of the
Yeah, they
encampment?
kicked us
Oh
out.
yeah,
So
well they said
therefore-
that they were going to kick everybody that had already checked in. They were going to kick them out. They were going to go around and
Because we were kicked out from Seaside.
tell. Yeah, well, no, they were going to kick you out of.
I know, but because they were
'Cause they
kicking us out there,
recognized you.
because
Yeah.
they were told we got kicked out of Seaside.
From the news.
From on the news, people, yeah, told them that we got
Well,
kicked out from
okay.
Colonel Durham Street, so they was going to kick us out from there because they didn't want no homeless people there.
I look at it as discrimination,
Right.
and it's not right.
No, it's not. Okay.
But yeah, they need personnel training or something.
They need all fire to have some right people
People very well.
that have business matters that know what they're doing. That's not rude and irate
Yeah.
like that to customers.
You know,
Paying customers.
we were asked to leave like we agreed upon. You know, they didn't kick anybody out. We were there.
Our time was up.
You know, their place to stay, and the time is up, and it's time to go. So we all left, you know, willingly, no problems. And they said they'd put us up there at Laguna, Seca, I guess.
Wherever.
So I was just going where I was told.
Yes, again.
You waited the 9 days because this is now whatever 9-10 days later. And now where are you folks at? Where are we at now?
I went there
Okay.
to caregive for her that Saturday. Last Saturday. The guy that was sitting there, I think his name's Jim.
Yeah.
And he's really kind of like bully-like. He's really rude. And as soon as I drove up, he recognized me because we'd been there before. And he goes, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And I go, "Well, I'm here to caregive for 71 Telematics." And he said, "Oh, well, we're not supposed to do that. You know, that's a guest." And I said, "No, I'm doing a job." And he said, "No, we call it a guest." I go, "Well, I call it working," you know. And he said, "Well, I said it's a guest." I said, all right, whatever. I just left it alone at that. I went about my business. I told him goodbye, have a good day. You know. And he didn't say anything after that. He didn't say get lost or anything. He just kind of nodded his head like, yeah, go on.
But you had to come one time, and the second time they didn't.
They're just, they didn't like us because of what they heard on the news already. That we were kicked out. We were just thrown out from where we were.
Had you misbehaved or any other indications that
I
they?
don't think we have. And none that
Out
helped.
there to misbehave.
Right. No
Not
indication.
enough for
wanted us to.
Not even enough for them to be like they are, you know. Just throw us through the wolves now again.
They should have been truthful from the beginning. He came right out and told everybody why they're not letting us in or letting us stay there. I mean, if they had a problem with who we were, then they should have never accepted us in the first place.
Right.
And,
There's a couple of people they wouldn't let in, period.
But you met the standards. You had a licensed, registered, insured vehicle.
right.
So
There was I couldn't see, there was no reason for them to keep anybody out, you know? Last time we were there, the people, they had a whole different group of people then, and they were much nicer and things worked well. This bunch of people, I didn't recognize any of them.
Okay, so John is the president, which he's been in the news a lot back when he was trying to make this deal with county. There was some kind of little tiff there. You can probably look that up. So he's the president. And the one thing about this that really gets me is he's not a good representative. I will have like 2 or 3 cars that I'm taking care of, and he'll pull up behind these cars, and he doesn't want to wait. So what does he do? He goes against the traffic. He'll come in the exit against the traffic. Okay, so this is the kind of man we're dealing with. one that keeps a man that costs them thousands of dollars with those bleachers and judges these other people just by a glimpse. And then there's Lisa Scanalian, I think is the way I pronounce her name. And she's the one, everything gets dumped on. Now, in the beginning I felt bad for her. I just thought that her attitude was because, she was getting dumped on because the last person that she took over for, Wendy, which was a great woman, Wendy, she quit because of that. So I'm thinking, okay, this is the same story with Lisa. But no, it's not. Lisa has a problem with people that she feels she's above. And to me, she's not above me. She's not above any of these people. And you know what? I hope it doesn't happen because God does not allow me to do this. But if she ever becomes homeless, I bet you, no matter what she did to the rest of us, we will be there to help her. So you tell me, what's wrong when us people, us displaced, us homeless, are more compassionate and more given to each other? What does that say about you? Wynette, when she gave me the notice, she didn't feel good about it. She knew, I could tell she knew Lisa was doing wrong. And I could just tell. But when she said that she knew about these guys coming in the day before, and that she should have been there on the 16th to deal with these people, I don't know if she was meant to be dealing with them to turn them away or what. But the way I took it was because her and Lisa are like a team. They're the tough girls, and they will go up and confront you and say, you need to get the hell out of here. And there ain't no fear in them. But now they're gonna have the fear when they face their makers. Because you see, now I like Wynette, I really do. And it's kind of like the bad and the good cop, okay? You got the asshole cop that's prejudiced or whatever, and then you got the good cop that knows that the bad cop is shitty, okay? But he's got to go along with that. Why? Because they're going to turn against him, right? So that's how I saw Wynette. She had to go along with Lisa, even though she knew that was wrong, the way they did me. So the main culprit is John and Lisa, and of course Wynette just has to do what she has to do. And I think we need to stop and think about, now, I was part of the Lapis Road Homeowner Association. And by the grace of God, I got a job to rescue this dog. And it took me 23 days to catch this Calahuna. And after the 23 days, my sponsor took the Calahuna to go get his shot. She sponsored me to have a space in Laguna, Seca. That's how I started becoming a volunteer. So she put me up there, and the dog came back for 33 days. I rehabilitated this dog. And the dog is doing great. I'm updated almost every year about this dog. And so when I became a volunteer, I felt good. I volunteered 20 hours a week, and I had a space, I had lights, I had water, and I was hooked up to the dump thing. And there's a lot of us out here like me. There are functional and self-providing. You know, we are willing to work. There's some people that have the same saying as me. I don't want a handout, but I won't turn down a helping hand. Because when we need a helping hand, you need a helping hand. But we're not asking for it. The majority of us are not asking for a handout. We're just asking to be recognized differently, to be respected. Because I got a lot of, when I was a camp host, and I was a camp host in Toro Park for 2 years after Laguna, I had people become my fan. You know, I was the smiling lady at the token. we have exchanged numbers. And then when the pandemic went down, I would call them once a month to make sure they were okay. They would call me to make sure I was okay. I love to service people, and also I gave dog biscuits to their dogs because I love dogs. However, when my point is, look, not all of us have the same story, okay? And some of us do have the same story, but not all of us have the same reasons for being out here, okay? My reason is, you know, back in 2017, there was a crime committed against me. I had to run away from the individual, so I went and bought an RV. There's other people that lost their job by being played a fool. Okay? Some people lost their job because they didn't, you know, when somebody gets a disability, that doesn't mean that they're in the money. They still struggle. And there's some people that were disability, couldn't keep up with their rent, the rent kept going up, they're out on the street, disabled. Some of us, I have to use a nebulizer for my asthma and my COPD. There's this other, well, I forgot where he's at right now, but he has a CPAS. I mean, do you think we want to be out here in fear? I was in fear when I left Laguna Seca today, because this morning I woke up and I couldn't breathe, and I thought that today would be the last day that I'll be able to plug in my machine to help me breathe. I'm not going to put my generator out here, okay? Because I respect public areas. But it's hard. It's really hard. We try to abide by the law, and most of ours are very successful in abiding by the law. But some of us have to go beyond the law because, you know why? Because folks keep pushing us into a corner. And if we push back, we're looked as crazy. If you find a dead homeless person in their car, oh, it's because they had a health problem. It's never because it was the weather that killed them. You know, either they froze to death, you know, or heat exhaustion, you know, or just being beat up by society itself, you know. Back in Vegas, they found a man in his car and his heart stopped. But not before he made a recording. And I decided I was going to make a recording because while all this was going down in Laguna Seca, I had pains in my chest. I was in a panic. I did make a video. And I hope to put that video up soon because you guys need to see what the effect is on us. I was and still am a very productive person. I'm still willing to go and be a camp host and volunteer my time just to have a space. And there's a lot of people out here like me. If they could get a space and you have like a farm or something, they're willing to work on it. You know, if you have a campground or something, they're willing to work. You know, I'm not saying 100% of them, but there is the majority of us, big majority, because I talk to everybody. What would you do if you had a chance to be a camp host like me? Oh yeah, I'll take it. I'll put the hours in. There you go. So stop being prejudiced against us. Because you know what? I might be related to you.